Hey guys, today I'm going to show you a loot guide for Reserve that I've been using for the last couple of weeks. I think I've made around 10 million rubles so far, and it's been a lot of fun doing so. Each run's going to take you about 6 to 7 minutes, and you should come out with about 3 to 400k per run. You don't need the Red Rebel Ice Pick to extract a map, and you technically don't even need keys, but I will show you some that will help. If this video ends up helping you out, consider giving it a like because it helps my channel grow, and it helps YouTube share this with other people. So thanks if you do, and let's jump into it. Essentially, we're basically just going to be focusing on Black Bishop and King, and then we're going to get out at Sewer Manhole within about 6 minutes. So you can imagine how many runs we can get in within an hour. Since we're going to be using the Sewer Manhole extract, you can't run a backpack, and every time you exit, you're going to have to run past the dome looking down on you. So if anybody's sniping, it's a very dangerous spot to be leaving. For your kit, make sure you run a big tactical rig. I usually like the belt combo because it's only about 34k on the market. I usually run a level 3 armor with headphones and then some sort of submachine gun. And as you get more confident with this run, consider running higher tier gear to increase your survivability. The keys I have listed here aren't required for the run, but they do enhance the run, so you will pay them back very shortly. I'll go into more detail about each room as we get there. A lot of the loot we're going to be looking for is military centric and sells for a lot of money. We're also going to be looking for intel folders, graphics cards, and Tetrises as well. As many know, the spawns on Reserve can be pretty hectic. Since it's possible to spawn all over the map, it's really hard to pick just one route for this map. So that's why we'll be focusing on just Black Bishop and King for the majority of the runs. And if we spawn near Queen and Dome, we'll loot up there, and if we spawn near Rook, we'll loot Marked Room if we have that key. To make this map a little more understandable, I broke the spawns into groups. Depending on which building you loot first, they'll be color coordinated based on that building. So obviously every run's not going to be exactly the same, so you will have to use your best judgment when making these runs, but here's the recommended route I take when I get these spawns. And just keep in mind, not every spawn is listed here, so if you get a new one and it's not listed on this map, just follow one nearby and you should be fine. If you're already comfortable navigating Reserve, feel free to skip ahead because there's a lot of different sections we're going to go over today. So I wanted to start by giving you guys a closer look at the building and some of the entrances each of them have. And I'm also going to demonstrate a few of the spawn paths that you'll take to get to these buildings. So the first route I'm going to demonstrate is Route C for Black Bishop. As you can see on the minimap, there's 2 other spawns that may be heading to Black Bishop as well. Route B is a bunker just beyond that mound, and you'll often see them running right beyond those trees. But we're not going to be focusing on the other spawns. What we'll be doing during this route is sprinting directly to Black Bishop. So just keep an eye to your left and your right because there are 2 spawns that you're in between. I usually just take the entrance that's closest to the helicopter for this route. For Route B, you'll know you're in this spawn when you can see the dome as soon as you're going up the ramp. I would say I've died at this spawn more than any others because you're right in between C and A and you really have no idea where they're going to go. There's also really little cover if you're running directly to the building. On your left is spawn A, which is just on the ramp. The bunker doesn't actually go inside. And for this entrance, I also like using the one nearest to the helicopter. So now we're going to jump over to the King building and show you some of the entrances for this building. This building is often referred to as the Queen building. On a lot of the resources it's listed as that. It actually is the King building. I even have it wrong in another video that I made. As you can see, there's a lot of different ways you can enter this building, so I'm going to show you some routes to get to this building and which entrance you should take. The first route I'll show you is Route C for the King building. It's right next to the Sewer Manhole extract, and it's a clean shot from Dome. So you want to make sure you run straight to King as soon as you spawn. We're going to be entering the garage. Just keep in mind there is a spawn point in here, but I've never ran into a player when I spawned at C. The next route I'm going to show you is Route E. We'll also be going to the King building. This is one of the furthest spawn points from where you want to be, so it's quite a bit of a run and you're going to go past a lot of different spawn points. You're in between 2 spawn points, one at the fuel tanks near train, and then one in the bunker nearby. So you want to just make sure you focus on running, but keep an eye out to your right and your left. We're going to go in between this barbed wire fence and go through the night buildings. I usually gain a little stamina in this alleyway because you're going to have to run across this open area, and Dome has a really nice sight on it. We'll go through Black Knight and jump through the back window. And we'll be using the gym entrance to get into the King building. The last route I'm going to show you is also a very long route, and if you happen to have the marked room key, we're going to hit the barracks to the right. I don't recommend coming out here for this room unless you have the spawn. So after looting, we're going to jump out the back window to avoid any fights and run along the back bunkers. Keep an eye out for spawn B, because that player could potentially come backwards and try to loot the marked room. Spawn B will be right next to the heating pipes and the shipping containers. I get that spawn a lot, and I usually just run straight to King from there. But since we're a little later in the raid, we're going to run through these train buildings for a little bit more coverage. Be careful of this intersection because there's a lot of paths that will pass this area. So gain enough stamina so that you can sprint right through. And we're going to enter the gym side of King building. So now that you know a little bit more about the buildings and the routes you need to take to get there, it's time to see where that fat loot is. We're going to start off at the north side of King in the garage building. Make sure you check on all these different server racks. You're going to find military tech and regular tech as well. Search along these back shelves here. I often find filters and military cables. I make a point to come to the garage no matter how late it is in the raid, because a lot of people miss things because it's so dark in here. This run is a good example of how many different military items you can find in this building, but sometimes it's completely empty, so you just have to keep trying. So you can use these metal stairs to get to the west side of King using the 3rd floor, or you can use the breach in the wall that gives you access to the gym, and then you can get to the west side of King from there. But we're going to go through the gym, and I'll show you where these metal stairs lead up to later. So on the west side of King, you need to prioritize this room because you can often find military circuit boards on top of the higher server racks. You can also find GPUs, vertexes, and other electronic components. Make sure you check inside this metal box here because the item usually spawns inside. And then on this little 3 stack of components, I found GPUs about 4 times now. Check on the floor and next to this chair as well. In this next room, I honestly don't usually find anything. Apparently GPUs and Tetrises can spawn in here, but all I found so far was a power supply unit. So just quickly check here and then move on. Next, we're going to go to the 2nd floor and check for some loose military spawns. I've had a lot of luck finding military items on top of this green stack of boxes, so make sure you check here. These next 2 rooms, I've not really found anything except a relay, so you can check them and maybe get a little bit luckier than I have. Now we're going to go to the 3rd floor and take a left here. You can find some water filters on top of these shelves, and we're going to go to the last room to find intel folders on this desk over here. We're going to run back towards the stairs and take a right after you pass them. There's one more room we'll loot, and it's for barter items. You can find them on the shelves here, but it's kind of a scary room since there's a ton of windows. Here's where the metal stairs lead you from the garage. So this is where you can overlook to see if anybody's in there, if you're going the opposite route, and then there you can see where they connect to this room. So at this point, if you already have a few 100K worth of items, consider looting this a little more thoroughly and then just leaving out of the sewer manhole since you're already really close to it. But if you need some more items and you weren't too lucky, we're gonna run to Black Bishop right through the street. So this building is extremely scary to loot since Gluhar could spawn in here and a lot of people pass by the area and there's so many windows. This is RBAM if you bought the key. We'll go there in a second. And this is RBAK if you bought the key, but we'll just drop down into that room. Once you get to the 3rd floor, you're going to check outside for these gun components on these 3 boxes and then on top of this desk. Next, we'll check every single one of these rooms before dropping down since you don't have a key. You can find various military loot. I don't get too lucky, but it's worth checking since it only takes like 30 seconds. So we'll go check the other rooms before dropping down. Check near these desks and on top of them. Then in this room, check the shelves at the far corner. And then there's one more set of shelves at the end of this room. So I personally bought RBAK because I don't like doing this drop down since it's so exposed. And the key is really cheap on the market, so you might as well eventually. So just quickly check along all these different shelves. I usually find Tetrises and different electronic components. I haven't found any GPUs here this wipe, but I do find Tetrises quite often. They kind of blend in with the shelf, so make sure you pay attention. So once you're done looting, if you had the key, you could just leave right out this door. But if you don't have the key, there's a couple ways to jump out of this room, and I'll show you how. So make your way over to the far corner of this room, and you're gonna jump and crouch over the sandbag out the window. But you could also use the drop down that you came through. It's just a little more exposed, and you want to run onto this ledge so you don't get any leg damage. The last room we're going to loot is RBAM, and this key is really worthwhile. It'll pay itself back really fast. So make sure you prioritize this. You can find military tech along these shelves, and also high tier barter items. Check the center island for high tier gun parts. I also hit all the containers if it's at the end of my run. If it's at the start of my run, I will consider not hitting any of the containers because I want to get to that loose military loot faster than other people. As you can see though, you can also find things like air filters that are massive, and on this shelf you can find fire steel. So it's time to make your way back to the sewer manhole extract. You can leave out the front near the courtyard and the helicopter, but it's really exposed there, so I often go to the back room and run through the window and sprint around. To stay covered, I sometimes run through White Bishop and just sprint through the hallway. Some people might be looting this building, so be careful doing that. Take a little breather before running across the street. We're going to sprint through these trenches in between Black Knight and King, and then we're going to take a little breather in this garage. After you get your breath back, it's time for the final sprint. You want to have enough stamina to get all the way to the extract. It may be a better idea to run to the building to the right instead of sprinting directly at it like I did here, but I've honestly only been sniped once after doing all these runs, so you should be okay. You might die a few times, but you're going to be doing so many runs it doesn't even matter. So this run should only take you about 7 minutes. I'm usually leaving around 43 to 44, and I always get survive status because I've looted enough items. I have gotten a few run-throughs when I didn't loot enough and I left a little bit too early on accident. So I want to show you guys one more unique path if you spawn at the dome. We're not going to ever come up here for the other paths, and we're not going to use sewer manhole if we spawn up here. There's one spawn that's down in the bunker and you have to run up a couple flights of stairs, and then there's another that's in the trees behind the guard shacks. If you don't have any keys, the only thing you're going to loot is this guard shack, and then we're going to go into the bunker. But if you have the keys, I'm going to show you what to loot. Hit this safe here, and then go over to the other guard shack, which is RBKPRL. This key may not be worth getting at first, but once you get some money doing these runs, then I suggest buying it later on, since there are 2 safes and there's intelligence spawns on the desks. So when I get dome spawns, I don't usually loot this room thoroughly. I only hit the safes and see if there's any intelligence folders on the desks, and then I'm sprinting directly to dome. We're going to go straight to the second floor and take a right and then a left. The 2 doors we're going to loot are on your left side. The first one you're going to loot is RBKORL. The only thing you're going to find in here is a filing cabinet and intel spawns. I found intel on top of the filing cabinet and as well as on the desk. The next room we're going to hit is RBRLSA. You can find military loot on the shelves, and you can also find intelligence folders on the desks. So now it's time we make our way down into D2. This is the only time we're ever going to extract from D2 because we should be the first ones there and somebody's going to probably turn on the power for us. So we're going to loot pretty thoroughly through this area and then leave as soon as we're done. This looting should be enough to get you your survive status, and you should be out of the raid within like 6 or 7 minutes. So make your way down this incredibly loud staircase and search this duffel bag here and these green boxes in the back for weapon parts. I've also found military loot on top of these fallen lockers. So this is the last room we're going to loot before going to extract. Pay attention to this door across the hall from you, because if that's open, someone's in here. If not, you should be good to go. Loot all these server racks up top, these boxes below, and the server racks below as well. The best thing you can find in this area is a phased array, which I found here. I haven't found that in a live raid yet, but it's definitely possible. So we're going to loot this toolbox and continue to loot the rest of the server racks. Once finished, go to this back room and check along all these shelves because you can find intelligence folders along them. You can hit this computer and then check along the server racks for other items. I haven't seen anything there, but you never know. And then finish off with the safe to your left. From here, we're going to jump over the rail onto the server rack. Check the wooden spool thing for intelligence folder spawn, and it could also spawn on top of the desk. Finish up this room by hitting the toolbox and checking the server racks for any loose items. Also look on top of the boxes for military loot. Look around the corner for loose barter items like motors. Check on top of these workbenches for different loose tech items. There can be military loot laying on this green door. And then you can hit the jackets and the duffel bag as well. So as long as the power's on, that's the end of your run. You'll see the light above on, and when you press the button, the door will start to open. But if that light's not on, neither is the power. Which means you're gonna have to turn it on yourself or backtrack back up the dome to leave out of the sewer extract. Like I said, it's very unlikely that the power's not gonna be on, but if it isn't, this is the path you'll take to turn it on. This bunker is extremely dangerous, so only go down here if you really have to. I wouldn't go down this main hallway. Instead, I would go through these offices. And since you're down here, go ahead and check all the desks for intelligent folder spawns. Break the glass and go through this back door. Here you're gonna find the power switch for D2. Go ahead and check all these server racks because it's likely that you're gonna find more military loot spawn here. Head back to D2 and you'll notice the light's now on. You can press the button to open the door and as soon as the opening is as big as your body, you can push through and extract. So that's all I have for you guys today. I hope these routes help you out and you get a little bit more comfortable with Reserve, because it's an awesome map and you get a lot of money here. If you end up using these routes, let me know how it went in the comments below. I'm curious to see how it goes for everyone. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.